Okay, guys, let's get to the first two paragraphs of the Declaration of Independence. I cleaned up my document a little bit just to make it easier to read. Again, you can notate yours how you want. Use your hum strategy to highlight, to underline, to make comments. So what I want you to see from here is how my brain actually goes as I'm reading the document. So I'm going to try to be as authentic as possible, how I would really read this document. First thing I want you to know that remember John Hancock's signature, that when he signed this document, he was committing an act of treason against the crown. That means everybody who signed that document knew they could be put to death for signing it. So this is literally a Declaration of Independence, but it's also a death sentence. So the king of England is going to be furious. He would order them to be hung, etc. So they are essentially outlaws at this point in time. Second thing, we all know our July 4th is our nation's anniversary. Notice the words in Congress July 4th. So it wasn't really signed on July 4th. In fact, it was probably agreed to on July 2nd, July 4th, around that time. But they still had to send this document around to 13 colonies to be signed. Nevertheless, we celebrate our Independence Day as July 4th because that's the day it was really agreed to. So as I'm reading this document, remember that rock climbing image. I'm looking for things to hold on to, things that grab my attention, things that make me ask questions. So I'm reading this title and I see the Unanimous Declaration of the 13 United States of America. And two things jump out at me right off the bat. One is unanimous. You might know what that means. That means everybody agrees. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. I'm thinking, okay, there's 13 colonies. And then I'm kind of looking at this thing and I'm like, wait a sec, is this a typo? The U here? Shouldn't it be a capital U? Well, the thing is, that's a great question because we're not united yet. These 13 colonies. There's no good old USA yet. We're still little states, not even states, of our own independent little minds. We have not come together yet to form the United States of America. So the USA that you see on logos everywhere, it doesn't really exist yet. So remember, this first paragraph is called the preamble. So I just wrote off to the side. It's a different color now. Don't worry about it. It's the preamble. So I'm just going to start reading along. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another and to assume among the powers of the earth a separate and equal station, yada, yada. Holy cats. Now, did you get that? Did you understand all that? I doubt it. I didn't understand much of a word of it, to be honest. So what I did understand was when in the course of human events, and I don't know if I really understood it, but I've kind of heard it before. So I underlined that part. When in the course of human events, and I'm thinking that through, when in the course of human events, what's a human event? A human event must be like something that humans can create, like, I don't know, war, things like that, compared to events that are caused by higher power, maybe a god, or just by nature, like hurricanes, tornadoes, things like that. So, human events, things that we can control when in the course of human events. So, there's something special about people being able to control their own destiny here. It becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands. To be honest, just like I read this a second ago, my mind's starting to drift here. And I'm just going to kind of skim along and look for things that I can kind of grab onto. And I'm looking through here, laws of nature, nature's God. I've heard some of those things before. Opinions of mankind. I'm going to be honest. The only thing I'm really focused on in this first paragraph is that when in the course of human events. So for the preamble, that's really what I'm taking away from it. So like that rock climber, I'm going to try to find things to grab onto. I'm going to jump ahead to the second paragraph. And this is our statement of beliefs, which you've marked before. And it's one of the most important collection of sentences in the English language, to be honest. And certainly in our United States history, this is incredibly important. So I'm looking for things as I'm reading to grab a hold onto. And I read, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, I'm going to try to sort of highlight them here because this is one of, as I just said, one of the most important and famous sentences in the English language. Hopefully, you've heard it before or parts of it. But if you can break this sentence apart and a couple others here, you're going to have a better understanding of the Declaration of Independence than probably 90% of the people out there. We hold these truths to be self-evident. That means they're obvious, right? That all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator. That's an interesting word there, Creator, with certain unalienable rights. And we went over that word unalienable. It means you can't make them foreign, you can't take them away. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So, one of the most famous lines in all of the English language. So, you want to put some stars by there, maybe an exclamation point there. But there's a couple other things we got to look at here. All men are created equal. Have you thought about that sentence before? Do they really mean all men? Just men, not women? Do women have the right to vote right at this time? No, they do not. So I'd assume, can they own property? No, they cannot. So I don't think they are equal. What about people of different races? Are there slaves at this time? Yes. Thomas Jefferson, the architect of this document, inherited slaves from his father, and to get there, he even had children with his slaves. Now it raises the question of what did he believe? Did he really believe that all men are created equal? Or did he just mean white European born men or white men in general? And books today are still being written by professors arguing about this. There's some evidence to suggest that he did mean that all men of all races, of all genders, are equal, that he did believe that. Others argue the opposite. How can you own slaves and believe that? So that's what history is about. It's still about arguing these things. But I do want to raise the point that even at this time, this idea of equality, let alone slavery, is already an issue that we're having to deal with, and our country hasn't even been formed yet. So that question of equality is there from the very, very beginning. I'm going to continue along in my reading. I'm skimming along that to secure these rights, looking for rocks, those little outcroppings to grab onto like that rock climber, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive, there's a good word, destructive, right of the people. Ooh, when people start talking about my rights, I tune in and pay attention. So I'm going to focus here. The right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government. Whoa, this sounds heavy. So we're going to go back and get our highlighter out here, or pen, because this is going to blow you away. When any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government. Wait a second here. Wait a second. That is heavy, heavy stuff. I'm going to put some stars by this. Do whatever it needs to get your attention, to really focus on it, because these two sentences, the one at the beginning, we hold these truths to be self-evident, and this one, when any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, are two incredibly important sentences to be an American and to understanding your government. So our nation, and what it says here is that when our rights are violated by a government, it is the right of the people to alter, that means to change, or to abolish it, which means to destroy, and to institute a new government. Holy cats, that has never occurred in history. Most governments are ruled by dictators or brutal people. When you speak out against them, they execute you or get rid of you or ignore you, maybe at best. But now, what we're seeing here in this document is that if our government becomes destructive to us, we have the right as people to change it or to abolish it, destroy it altogether, and build a new one that never existed before this document. Okay, I'm going to continue on looking for things to grab onto. I see safety and happiness there, prudence. I'm not sure what that is. I'd have to look it up. Looking for things I can grab onto. Trans accordingly, experience hath shewn. That's kind of weird. Mankind disposed to suffer. Okay. I'm be honest, I'm not getting a lot of this, but a long train of abuses. I know abuses is pretty negative. Reserptions. A lot of words I don't know. It is their right. It is their duty to throw. Oh, okay. It is their right. Again, when people start talking about my rights or duty, I start to tune in. So let me see here. I'm gonna to get my attention. It is their right. It is their duty to throw off such government. Wow. So this goes with that sentence before we were talking about. Takes it a step further, though. It says it's not only our right, but our obligation to change our government if it's violating our rights. That means government, it belongs to the people. We're responsible for it. Our government doesn't exist separately. It belongs to us. It's created by us. It's our right. It's our duty to change our government when it doesn't meet our needs. Okay, I'm just going to finish up this paragraph here and we'll be cruising to a finish. Security, patient sufferance. If I'm just skipping along here, absolute tyranny. Wow. Let facts be submitted to a candid world. Let facts be submitted. That kind of sounds like a court trial, like Judge Judy or something. And that's exactly how they intended this document to sound. They wanted it to be a listing of facts, and they wanted to appeal to the world that look what's going on here. Look what the King of Great Britain is doing to us. This is what we're going to do and why we're doing it. Next up is the list of grievances. I'm going to leave that to next lesson. And great job reading and annotating that. Look, here's the point. Look, if you just keyed in on a couple of those sentences, how much you got out of that article. Look at how much we skimmed over, how much I told you that I really didn't understand. But I found little parts and bits that I could grab onto to make sense of this document. Again, nobody reads it from start to finish in one take and understands every word. This takes a lot of work to understand. So be like that rock climber, climb up, find things to grab onto. If it's a word you don't know, look it up. Maybe that'll help you understand it. Find phrases that jump out at you that you can understand and focus on them. You need not read every single word and try to understand every single word. That's not how we create meaning. So great job today, guys. Remember this skill going forward. This is how you read difficult texts and how you be successful in your work and eventually in college.